Welcome to episode 10 of what is now the Leaders Lifestyle Podcast. So I've been pretty quiet on my own podcast for a number of months, but it's now time to kickstart that and get it back into action, because I absolutely love having an amazing, empowering conversations, because my mission was always to inspire, educate, and empower anyone that wants to listen to inspirational conversations with like-minded leaders. So I have a few episodes that I have in the bank. Pure Maintenance is a contractor that came and demolded my whole house, and there'll be more to come on why that is such an important aspect of health optimization. Jane McClelland, who wrote How to Starve Cancer, is in the episode after that. Alex Hyam, who's the creator of Exhale Coffee, is in the third one. And a guy that wrote a book called Dead Man to Iron Man resonated with me a lot. So he had a cancer journey, some crazy surgery, and then went on to become an Ironman down in Tembe. And then a podcast I don't really want to go back and listen to, really. However, I'm going to, because I'm courageous, is a conversation I had with my oncologist back in October. So really excited and to share that. But in this episode, I've got somebody that's come into my world over the last 12 months, and I'm proud to say is my business partner, along with JP. And we're building a collective mastermind together of leaders and like-minded entrepreneurs to help them tap into their full potential and live their best life. So I've switched the name to Leaders Lifestyle, and lifestyle medicine, lifestyle is such an important factor in ensuring we can operate at the highest level. And it was only last night when I delivered a presentation at a networking event, a keynote presentation, which was dedicated to mastering the inner game of high performance. And there's no one better that I've worked with in my life that's helped call me to a higher place of operation. It's like working with a special forces compadre, is working with Matt Grady. So I'll let him introduce himself and explain his journey into curating his own mindset, and what was the reason, like, that took you on this, the initial path of becoming a professional golfer, Matt. It's over to you.
Mate, great to be here. Thanks so much, Mark. And we speak so often that I go very quickly into our friendship mode and our colleague mode. But I've got to remember that I'm a guest on your podcast now, and I got to get serious. And actually, you brought back the memory of when we met last October. For the first time. You'd just been to visit and interview your oncologist, and then we had that lovely lunch together. So my story into golf, early days, really, very much an all-round sports person in school. And my uncle Dave picked me up from school one day, who's just returned back from Germany. He'd spent, I think, about 10 years out there. He was a golf pro and more of a teaching professional. And I was really inspired by Dave as he picked me up in his Porsche Carrera Turbo with the black and white checkered seats. And I thought, ooh, I wouldn't mind a slice of that.
I've never heard that part of the story. Black and white checkered seats.
Yeah, that's black and white checkered seat. And anyone who had a Porsche in the late 80s will remember those seats. I certainly didn't have one, but Dave Reffin did. And he picked me up in his Porsche Carrera. He was always into his cars. And he picked me up from school one day, and the ego in me, child, was looking at all these other kids looking at me getting into this fancy Porsche. I thought, ooh, what does Dave do? So I went home and I said to Mom, I was like, what does Dave do? What does Uncle Dave do? And he's a golf professional, And Dave ended up spending a bit of time back in the UK, where I met his wife, my auntie, Christine, and they've got two boys, Ben and James. And he chopped down some clubs for me, so golf clubs. And when we say chop down, he reduced them to the size of a juvenile. And we used to go over and visit some family. So we're in Yorkshire. We used to go over to Scarborough to visit my other auntie. mum's younger sister Susan and her kids, and we stayed in a sort of caravan park, like static caravan that my mum and dad bought when we were a kid. And out of the back, just by chance, out of the back of the caravan was about 20 acres of land, all grassed. And if you can imagine, it almost had a tier as well, like a driving range, like a golf driving range. And I lived there for every hour that the sun was up, through every week that we went over there, and started to get really into it. My granddad Ed, who's Uncle Dave's dad, obviously seen Dave progress through to be a really, really strong professional in golf. And my dad as well helped craft the young Matt Grady, the golf pro. So from a very, very young age, I was already, in my mind, I was already the guy that I wanted to be. And I knew at what time that would come as well. Yeah, that was coming at 18, when you could join the PGA and get your qualifications, and then decide really whether you want to be a player or a teaching pro, a club pro. But I had, you probably heard the 10,000 hour rule in life and business and sport by Malcolm Gladwell. But I did the reckoning in the book actually that I wrote, that I was at about 10,000 hours by the time I was about 12 years old. So I'd already put in the legwork early, and that enabled me to join a club where I used to play golf with a very competitive young guy who was the club secretary's son. And we used to just play for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. My feet were wrecked. School suffered, but golf always got better. And I just knew exactly where I wanted to be. And I met a guy, I don't know if I mentioned him in the book, I can't quite remember, Simon Coombe. I'll mention him now. He's a great amateur. He never turned pro, but he's an extremely strong amateur who used to act as if. I didn't really know what acting as if was, but Simon used to embody Nick Faldo, who was the guy before Tiger. Nick Faldo, British guy, US Masters 96, the year before Tiger won. Simon used to use all the same clubs. He had the same pre-shot routine. He had the same mannerisms. And it really intrigued me how he'd embodied the person that he wanted to be by emulating someone else. So I started to create my own persona and my own mindset. And I went on and on and on, winning amateur events before the day that I knew it was time to turn pro.
That's amazing. And
that's the young life anyway.
And so when you first had that vision, of being the pro golfer, what age were you when that all started to happen? Just so I can.
Probably 9 or 10 years old.
9 or 10 years old. Amazing.
Yeah.
And that vision guided you for the next, how many years of your life?
So that would have been the next 9 or 10 years until it got to the point where I'd submitted my application to join the Professional Golfers Association and
how long was it from when you became approved PGA pro golfer all the way through to when you switched career into the recruitment industry?
It would have been 13 years.
13 years.
And then there was a bit of a lag as well, because actually when I moved into the recruitment industry, I played a few tour events in my early 30s. So 13 years.
So you carried on playing after you left?
Carried on playing. Yeah, absolutely. Booked holiday.
And you now have a vision to get back to it at 50?
Yes. So I turned 40 last July.
Yeah.
And so in less than 10 years, you're classed as a senior, although I don't feel senior in the slightest. So I know that when I'm 50, I'm still going to feel quite young. But I remember thinking, what the future would hold in golf. And I also remember that the guys who turned 50, some of the seniors still play on the main tour, but the ones that were really healthy can play really very, very well as a senior and still compete at an extremely high level.
That is amazing.
So that's a 10-year goal.
And so what are the main attributes that you gleaned from being a professional sportsman that you were able to then transition into a new career of recruiting, where you ended up, before you switched to coaching, in the top, the top earners, in every domain? What did you notice when you went into an office space, and what was different about you than most of the people that were playing the game of recruitment?
Yeah, careful not to upset anybody, but they probably know it's a reality from what I'm about to say. But there's a very low barrier to entry to get into sales and recruitment industry. You don't necessarily need any qualifications. I can't remember really what the qualities they were looking for, but I know that mindset, resilience, somebody who's disciplined, organized, and coachable as well was one of the key things that I found was very important in the early days. Now, as I'm not necessarily a young dad, but my first daughter was born when I was late 20s. So I had a sense of responsibility, which a lot of the younger men and women didn't necessarily have in their early 20s when they're in the recruitment industry. So I was a very serious guy, and I took that serious mindset of performance out of sport into the world of recruitment. So I was very serious if the team didn't hit a target. I was very serious if I wasn't given the opportunity that I was told I could have. For example, the classic line of "sold the dream and delivered the nightmare" came true quite early on in my recruitment career, where I found out that it wasn't a commission scheme; it was a discretionary commission scheme that was based on the performance of the team. And me being very much an individual performer up to that date, I was quite shocked when I found out that just because somebody in the team didn't have a good quarter, that I didn't get my bonus. Even when I'd played my part. So I quickly moved on from the corporate recruiters and found home in the smaller to medium enterprises who were highly profitable, high performing, and extremely driven to succeed. And they weren't really shackled by the large corporate recruiter frameworks that I'd experienced. So what I noticed was quite shocking that you spend a lot of the time in sales and recruitment doing the sales calls, making the calls, preparing for calls, pitching, meeting clients. But actually, I didn't see anybody spending any time really developing their own skills, their own salesmanship, their own pitching, their credibility within the market. So I was really shocked coming from sport where you spend 90% of your time preparing for the event, and then for the 1 day or the 3 days or the 4 days, you're delivering. But there was hardly any preparation leading up to. And what showed out, or what showed up for me, was that somebody who's willing to invest in their own development will outclass and outperform anyone else that doesn't. And they might get lucky. They might have a few good clients. They might have a few hand-me-down accounts that they manage quite well. But really, longevity and being able to develop and perform at a high level for a sustainable period with somebody who is willing to put in the hours on themselves, the inner game, and develop the skill set, the mindset to be able to perform and deliver.
That's really interesting. Is that, I guess in the recruitment, you perform. Your performance, your event is the sales call. It's the introductory meeting. It's the follow-up session.
Yeah.
Whereas that would be great if you could do that 90% of the time. That would make your results amazing. Yeah. If you had a team that was able to get you the
deliver
the follow-ups. Yeah.
But I guess 8 hours out of an 8.5-hour day, for example.
Well, yeah, but the reality is that to get good at sales, there's that continuation of work that most people won't do, and it's like in the self-development world, the work works when you do the work. And that's a bitter pill to swallow for a lot of people, because it's always easy to jump onto the next thing or the next thing than just to do the work to reflect on, well, what am I not doing that's going to help me move forward?
To jump on that point there as well, there is no reflection. It's just doing mode, constant doing mode. And I would see people be unsuccessful on a call or a business conversation or a deal. And I would say, well, why did it go wrong? I've got no idea. And it wasn't until 2014 when I met Elliot Clements and Gareth Thomas, and I went on to work with those guys for 5 years, that Elliot would say, you need to hold the mirror up. And anything that happens is down to you. And any result that you get is down to you, whether good or bad. And the great news is it's down to you when it goes well. And the great news is it's down to you when it doesn't go so well, because you can fix it. But not a lot of people want to step up to the accountability mirror.
Yeah. Somebody after my talk last night created a post and they credited it to my name. And I was like, I just shared it on my stories anyway. And I knew, but it's not, the credit really needs to go to you. You know, you ran a session in.
I'll drop the ego, mate. It's all good.
You ran a session in our mastermind in Dubai in May. And this was one of the key takeaways. So if you're watching this live, you can see the slide. But one of the key shifts that we help our clients make, there's 5 key shifts, but one in particular is taking decisive action. And whether you can see the whole of that slide or not,
almost.
But what it says essentially is, are you playing to win or playing hard not to lose? And when I mentioned that, it clearly struck a chord with most people that were in the room last night. And they realized, and I realized when you shared that, is like, are you playing to win or are you playing hard not to lose? You know, what part of your play, what part of your performance are you playing hard not to lose? You know, and it's that, how do you shift the energy from playing to win or into playing to win? So just explain that from a sporting context, Matt, because I guess unless you really think into what is playing to win and where am I not playing to win, like what moves am I not making that I should be making? And you put a coaching question into our community yesterday, and we've seen some amazing videos where you helped a lot of people get out of their way. So yeah, share that if you can, Matt, just from your perspective, from your world of being a high performer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that they're two very different mindsets. And I never really had the second mindset. So the first mindset is playing to win. Greg, that's brilliant. 4-2, fantastic.
So there's an interlude. Just to explain, we've got comments on the live stream. If you're watching this on replay, the comment that Greg made, an amazing guy in our network, the quote I heard from Matt the same day, he had an important squash match and he took this mindset into a game. And guess what? He won 4-2. And he's never beaten the guy before. So taking that thread into this conversation, Matt, where have you applied this line of thinking and where has it got you the result that you were hoping for?
So the playing to win mindset is a visualization, a thought, a feeling, a visualization of the result that you want to achieve. And I started adopting that mindset as an 8 and 9-year-old. Even as an 8-year-old, when playing in the juniors, I would only ever see the win. Because really, why bother playing if you're not playing to do it to your absolute best? Now, I'm not saying you'll win every time, but if you even don't think you're going to win, you've already lost. You've got no chance. You don't get to the end of a game, a tournament, an event, and say, can't believe I won because I didn't think I was gonna.
Yeah,
I didn't think I'd do a good job there. Oh God, what? As luck would have it, I did amazing.
Yeah.
You know, nobody ever goes into anything. It's almost unthinkable to go into anything without playing to win. You're going with I guess we would call it a growth mindset now as well nowadays. But it was just an unwavering and very crystal clear vision of what a win looks like. And I've used the analogy of making a cup of tea. Why would you make a crap cup of tea? Or coffee? I don't even drink tea, but as far as I get with tea is chuck a green tea bag in the cup. But why would you bother? Why would you even bother making a crap cup of tea? So playing to win does not mean at the cost of integrity. So it means playing with an attitude, an approach, a mindset, a vision, with actions in the pursuit of the result that you want to achieve. Now, one of the things before I move on to the next point is, if you don't know what playing to win looks like, you need to take a bit more time to figure out what is the result that you want to achieve. I'm not saying just go blindly into something hoping that it'll work, because you'll come a cropper and you'll get found out. But what I am saying is, with the thought process, with the time you have to prepare for something, why wouldn't you do everything to put yourself in a place of winning? Do you want me to pause there, or shall I move on to the next bit, the playing not to lose?
I think that's a good place to move on to the next bit. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So playing not to lose doesn't mean you might not win every now and again. As we said, you might get lucky, but who wants to get lucky? So playing not to lose for me is not taking any risks. Not going for any shot. If I talk about golf, it's not really going for any shot. It's playing it safe. It's making moves with fear, and it's making moves from a place of uncertainty rather than certainty. And
having the mindset playing to win when. Or better, is where has that got the better of you? Where you were like, I'll play for the safe shot. I won't act courageously. Yeah. And then that lost you the match.
Well, you guarantee it. If I'm not thinking about the result, if I have a shot of over 200 yards, which is a decent distance, if it's not off the tee, for example, which is over 300 yards, but let's say I have a golf shot over water to a tight pin over a bunker, and if I don't get it right, I'm losing $5,000 off the paycheck. You better make sure you're playing to win on that. And if there's any fear creeps in or any doubt in your ability to do something, you will hold back. You'll play it safe, and that ball will not go where you want it to go. And in a golf round, a good golf round for me would be within the 60s. So 60 shots, between 60 and 70, depending on the course. I'm not shooting course records every week, but I have had 15 course records. But you have to visualize every outcome over 60 times in a round within a few hours. So you get quite good at seeing things quickly.
Yeah.
Which enables you to make decisions quickly.
I've noticed you seeing things quickly.
Yeah, when you see the result, everything else is just white noise, really, and interference.
One of our live guests on the show has said, taking bold steps puts your opponent under pressure, and then they start to do things that they're not comfortable with and start taking risks. Absolutely.
Uncalculated risks.
Yeah, I was the guy on the squash court that used to that dive for the ball, and people like, that is commitment on another level. And I guess
playing to win. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're writing a book, Matthew?
Yes, I am indeed. So I wrote a book last year. I was inspired by JP. He said, "You need to write a book. You've got a story." And under the fold here, I spent a few years in the UAE. I had a hobby as a DJ. I DJ'd in nightclubs for 5 years while I was making money to play on tour. That used to supplement my tournament schedule. I'd worked in Starbucks over a winter when I needed some money to pay for the next tournaments kicking off in March. I'd worked in a sandwich company to pay for delivering sandwiches for a company in the winter to pay for the next year. And I also worked hard to secure sponsors as well over the years. So JP said, "You've got a crazy story and you should write a book. And here's the structure. I'm going to do a video, watch it. Here's a structure." And I committed within 30 days to write a book pre-AI. And I actually 14 days in, didn't like it and rewrote it within 14 days and published. So, mate, this is really just inspired by the process that I really enjoyed, and the process in general. I enjoy process, good process. I don't enjoy crap process. I enjoy putting good things in place that are sustainable and have got some life in them. And I really enjoyed the process of putting pen to paper and giving somebody a system to follow that I know will resonate. And Making the Cut, Turning Pro in Sport, Business and Life, had an acronym, SPORT. And you wouldn't believe the amount of times I've heard people that I aspire to in terms of mentors and how they talk have said, setting up for success. You've got to set up for success. You've got to set up for success. And that's the first chapter in Making the Cut, setting up for success. And I was blown away by that. And I thought, I need to write another book. And inspired by being given the opportunity to talk to our Live 100 members out in Dubai at the Wealth Mastery Retreat in May, on Playing to Win, I thought I could put this on paper, because everybody I've said it to and everybody you said it to, every time we share it, it resonates with somebody else. And that's not a fluke. So I'm going to play to win, and I'm going to publish another book that will be in the same style, the same framework, action oriented, no fluff, right to the point, with some good context as well. And that will be my next book, Making the Cut. Playing to Win, not playing not to lose. And somebody very close to me has agreed to write the forward. So thank you so much, Mark.
When's the book due to be? When's your goal for it to be released? Hopefully.
Yeah, my goal will be by the end of July. It'll be on the shelf with Amazon. Self-published. Although somebody connected the other day as a publisher. But I don't expect it to get snapped up by the press. I'll happily self-publish, and it'll be out in July. That's
amazing. So I'll drop in the show notes a link to the to Matt's first book. So go head on over there and buy it. It's a great read, and Matt very kindly gifted me a copy, and forever grateful for that. So taking the work we do together with JP and Live 100 and building a mastermind community, we're going to take a few key elements of what we teach, but take it into nature. So next Thursday on the 22nd of June, depending on when you listen to this podcast, we will be in Knutsford in Cheshire. Matt lives up in Cheshire in Sandbach. I live over in North Wales. So we're bringing a group of hopefully 15 people together to really take them on I call it like a well-being and mindset and mental performance masterclass. You know, it's integrating the two worlds, because you can't have high performance without really taking responsibility for our physical well-being, our emotional well-being, and our spiritual well-being. So really looking forward to bringing that event to you. So in the show notes as well, there will be a place for you to go and buy a ticket if you still want to come. So yeah, head on over there and check the link out for that, and we'll put it on the live streams as well here. So to bring this conversation to a close, because I know this is about a leader's lifestyle, and I know what's important to you is getting to the gym before you pick up your daughter. So I want to respect that time for you, Matt. If there was a passing gift for our listeners to take forward into their life, like what's the one of the most important aspects of your daily practice, your daily lifestyle that seems to make a massive difference in how you show up each and every day?
I think the benefit of having to self-organize in sporting life, and I bring this into the real world by saying, you know, unless you're fortunate enough financially to be paying a company to take you to the airport and put you on the plane, let's just assume that the majority of the people listening are going to prepare to get to the aeroplane. You don't get there by accident. You don't get there on time. You've missed the plane. Good night, Vienna. You don't get your bags through check-in. So there's just a reality context around preparing and setting up for success. And you can't really do that in the moment. You can't decide on the day that I'm going to Dubai today on the plane, and the aeroplane will just sit and wait for me to take some action. You have to take the action in advance and prepare and put some thought into what success looks like. So if I was to impart one message to a leader, I would say revisit goals, get really excited about them, and make them so clear that you could watch them in a movie, 4K, HD, So it's so clear that you know the actions that you need to take in order to play to win.
Definitely. And I think that's a great place to finish there, is just that mindset of playing to win. And it's my natural trait is to wake up and intuitively find the day, and I feel more productive when I prepare more and I plan more. And so, my creativity is one of my gifts. However, the one thing I could do better and build the muscle is this area, which is what we teach at within Live 100 and with our clients, is taking that decisive action. And that's Matt is world class at that, and making sure that his outputs every day are aligned with the goals he's working towards. And it's really inspirational to work with you, mate. I really appreciate the conversations we have and the project we're working on together. And yeah, it's forever grateful for you coming on this show.
Amazing to be here, Mark. Thanks so much for giving me the airtime, and I look forward to watching it on the playback.
Over and out, everybody. Have a wicked Thursday as we're recording this, Thursday, the 15th of June. This weekend, just to finish off, I'm heading to the Health Optimization Summit in London. So if you are in and around London, there is still a chance to get a ticket, and you can get 10% off at the checkout using Mark Bryant as a discount code. So I will look forward to seeing any of you there down at the Health Optimization Summit. I'll be speaking on stage 3, introducing some of the amazing speakers. And yeah, thank you so much, Matt, for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Mark.